What's happening, everybody? I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. Let's get right down to it. According to CBS/NBA.com, in an article written, it's called the Free Agent Tracker. Kevin Durant requests trade from Nets team working on finding deal for superstar per manager. The article was written by Jasmine Wimbish. So let's get right down to it. Quote, Brooklyn Nets star Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the team according to his business manager, Rich Kleiman. Nets general manager Sean Marks is working with Durant and Kleiman on finding a trade per Adrian Wojnarowski. Durant reportedly has the Phoenix Suns and Miami Heat as preferred destinations. But there will undoubtedly be no shortage of teams looking to make the best deal to obtain the 12-time All-Star services. Durant doesn't have a no-trade clause in his contract, so Brooklyn is able to trade him to whichever team will give them the best value. The news comes after there were reported concern about Brooklyn's future with both Durant and Kyrie Irving. Once news circulated earlier this week that Irving may not want to be in Brooklyn anymore if the team wasn't going to offer him a long-term extension. There were rumblings that Durant would want out as well. However, Irving recently opted in on his $37 million player option for next season, suggesting that both he and Durant would remain with the Nets for at least the 2022-23 season. But Wojnarowski reports that neither Irving nor Durant had any contact with the Nets front office after Irving opted into his player option, suggesting that Durant would eventually ask for a trade. Now, this is where the story begins to get a little murky. And the reason why I say that is because there is a pattern here with Kevin Durant. Going back to the days with OKC. Then he went to the Warriors. And he was traded to the Nets. Why is there such discontentment with this great NBA star? Let's read a little further. This is a whirlwind journey for a Nets team that was considered championship favorites heading into last season. But a trade request from James Harden, which landed the Nets Ben Simmons from the 76ers. Remember, I said this is where the story gets murky, because it has been reported, unsubstantiated though, that Kevin Durant was somewhat discontented and does not want to play with Simmons. So if Simmons was going to remain with the Nets, then Durant wants out. Why? Because he sees instability. And instability can cause a team not to even forget about the championship contending aspect of it. They're not even going to be a playoff bound, because if players are playing with the team and they don't want to be a part of the team, that creates instability in the locker room. It creates heat. And once heat is created among players, it creates a fraction. That fraction can come out onto the court as well. Oh, by the way, well, almost let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to have some important news in a couple of days. So it almost slipped out. Loose lips sink ships. And I ain't got no loose lips, so I ain't sinking no slips. So let's get back into this story right here, right now. So, but a trade request from James Harden, which landed the Nets Ben Simmons from the 76ers, and MCL injury to Durant, and having Irving unable to play in majority of the season due to his unvaccinated status, completely shattered those aspirations. As a result, the Nets were swept in the first round of the playoffs by the Boston Celtics. With a fully healthy Durant and Irving, Durant's desire to request a trade hints that he may be done with the tumultuous nature of the Nets franchise since he joined the team in 2019. Really, Irving wants to go to the Lakers. He wants to be with LeBron James to rekindle what they had when they were in Cleveland. However, it was the ego of the NBA superstar that caused him to split up that trio, that dynamic trio. I think it was Kevin Love, Irving, and LeBron James. So many times, ladies and gentlemen, when you have a good niche going, when you've got a good mixture, don't break it up. Make it work. Ride that thing until the wheels fall off and make it happen. Durant's 4-year, $100 million contract extension that he signed last summer doesn't kick in until the 2022-23 season. So it's going to take a massive offer from opposing teams to bring him in. But with free agency starting, every team will be calling the Nets to try and put together a package worth Durant's talents. As for the Nets, this is a tough situation to be in for a team that at one point had all three of Durant, Irving, and Harden, and were the most stacked team in the league on paper. That wealth of talent never lived up to its potential, though with injuries and vaccination statuses plaguing their championship journey. The return for Durant could set the Nets up nicely for the future, with the potential to land several first-round picks and perhaps a young cornerstone player to build around. They could also trade away Irving now that he's opted into his player option, giving them more assets to work with. The Durant development just made everything far more intriguing, as surely as every team in the league will now try to pivot and make a deal for one of the league's best players. And you know what? He could end up with the Philadelphia 76ers. Never surrender, never quit.